Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and I'm going to be doing a quick comparison between this tank, the Tier 9 WZ120, to the T-54. Its twin that was separated at birth. Both these tanks play quite differently. They have much different gun attributes, but we'll get into that during the specific video comparisons of one game each. Games I had yesterday that were pretty good indications of what the tanks are capable of, and some of their strengths and some of their weaknesses. So we'll jump into that, and you can see which Tier 9 is the best. Alright, we'll start off with the T-54, and some of the comparisons that we can draw between the T-54 and the WZ120 that they have in common are that they're both pretty fast. The T-54 seems to be slightly faster, slightly more maneuverable, but from what I've found, the hull armor is slightly better on the T-54, 120 instead of 100 on its upper and lower plates, but the turret I find on the WZ120 is superior compared to the T-54. So very similar tanks, but they have their differences. Their guns are also extremely different, assuming you're using the guns that I'm using. I've actually decided to switch over to the other gun on the T-54, and this is the one that gives 220 pen as opposed to 200, and I find it's a lot more reliable to be able to pen the tanks that you'll be fighting without having to spam heat rounds, which is something I kind of don't like doing, but sometimes you're kind of forced into it when everyone else is firing them anyway. So the one downside to this gun is that it aims a bit slower, but just being the fact that this is a Russian tank, I don't find I need to fully aim all my shots. Like, I didn't fully aim that. I probably could aim for another second, and I'm not going to fully aim this one, and that one's going to hit. I take a shot from the WoT 4, and that went right through my upper plate. Going to put another unaimed shot into that guy, and that's one of the things about the T-54 that's slightly better than the WZ120 doing snapshots at this range, which is about 200 meters. It's a little bit easier to hit your targets with the T-54, and again, I don't think I fully aimed that shot either, and it still went in. So I can see that the Egg Tiger's there. I can see the WoT 4 is there, but he's backing up, so I don't have a shot. So I decide to load heat and put a shot into the side of that E75 because I didn't have a great shot at the Egg Tiger. So I've switched over. I'm going to pull forward, and E75 misses. He didn't aim his shot, and I mostly aimed that shot, but again, I didn't fully aim it, and that guy pulls out, misses. And this is one of the things the T-54 is good at. I'm not showing a whole ton of my tank. It's mostly just the upper plate and the turret, which are the strongest armor points on it. The one thing where this tank is a ton better than the WZ120 is a gun depression, and the -5 isn't great on any tank, but the 120 has only -3 when it's over the front. Over the side, it might be better. I think it's actually like -5 or -6 or something, but it feels a little bit better with the barrel over the side, but I could be completely wrong. Maybe it's just an illusion. So I've rocked back and forth for a while here, but I just kind of came to the conclusion that there wasn't much going to be achieved in pushing into the front of an E75 in an Object 268. So I wait around for a little bit longer, and then I decide to turn around. So I'm going to rock back and forth a bit, rocking back and forth a bit more, nothing happening. WoT Trigger's not pulling out, so I decide to pull over to the other side here with Jester and see what we can do coming up around these guys. And it's at this point where I didn't really realize that there was tanks to my left, because I'm going to take a shot as I come around this corner at some point. But I'm going to stop because I had a shot at this fella, and I'm going to aim this one a lot more, and that shot is going to go in, because when he pops back up again, he's down a few more hit points. And didn't fully aim that shot, aimed for about half a second, but again, we've got Russian accuracy, so it shit just goes in. So I got hit by the E50, who was way over here. but I managed to take out that Waffle Traeger 4, so that was good. And now I was going to try and just drive around and get the backs of these guys and hopefully take out their scouts. I had a Chaffee to my left and I had a WZ131. I tried to just snapshot that guy in the move, but it didn't work. And I'm going to try and engage their scout tanks right now, because I don't need them shooting at me in the back while these guys are taking care of the Object 268. So that was a shot from the Chaffee, but my tracks ate it. That shot actually went in. And almost hit to the Chaffee. Again, I'm not really aiming my shots. I'm just kind of snapshotting because I don't feel like taking too much damage because this tank takes a while to aim. And that was it for the WZ120, or 131. I kept him lit up long enough for him to just die. And I didn't feel like wasting any more time on that Chaffee. And I thought, okay, I'll pull around, shoot him, track him. And then I think I took another little piddly shot from something there because it didn't do much damage to me. He's probably Chaffee again. But he's dead now. FV took him down. So I was trying to see if I had shots at that E4, which I didn't. So I was going to pull out and shoot this Waffle Traeger 4, but he gets plastered before I can do that. So the acceleration straight line speed of the T-54 is pretty fantastic. It's slightly worse on the WZ, but not by a heck of a lot. Driving the WZ, even without the top engine, isn't actually too bad. So I take out their Badger player, who's probably the best player on the team. And now I'm going to get shots in on the Egg Tiger, and that's it. So you'll see in the next battle how this tank kind of contrasts the 120. The armor in this game didn't particularly work. I don't think I bounced one shot. But I had a lot of tanks with high firepower, or they had my back or my side, and they were able to pen me. So sometimes the armor in the T-54 works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's more about using your positioning and mobility than anything else. So we'll jump over to the next battle, and this one I ended up doing like 2,850 damage, which was almost identical to the next battle as far as damage goes. So you can see back to back how this thing compares to the other tank. Alright, so this one we're in Fjords. I'm in my WZ120. It's fully elited, and that was mostly thanks to HMS English for gifting me some cash to get this tank done. And I've been driving it and getting used to it, and I quite like it. I just recently got the top engine for it, so I didn't want to be doing too much review on it until then. As you can see, the top speed's great. I'm doing 50, which I think is its maximum speed. It's not quite as fast in general as the T-54, which can do like 55, 56, but I'm still outpacing pretty much everyone on my team, including that E50. Nothing else is coming this way. So I'm chugging up the hill, still doing 20. The traverse in the tank is still good. The turret traverse, it seems to be very comparable to the T-54 as well. You can see that driving around on the move, when I turn my hull, the aiming reticle isn't huge, but sometimes that isn't even a great representation of where your shot is actually going to go, because sometimes this tank flings shots in the middle of nowhere just because it's more of a big derpy heavy tank gun than it is a precision instrument. So you're kind of walking around with a big hammer as opposed to a needle, which is kind of like what you have in the T-54, because you do a hell of a ton more as far as damage goes. And this is one of the areas where you got to really watch where you're going to set your engagement point with this tank. So I can sit here, I can sit like right here and I can shoot. If I roll back 2 feet, I can't shoot anymore. So I'm going to wait for this guy to pop up. You can see my aim time is rather slow, but 500 damage, which is substantially more than what you get in the T-54. So it takes about 10 seconds to to reload my shot, as opposed to six and a bit, 6.5. But you do so much more damage that it makes up for that. So I'm going to pop out again, and yeah, the shot missed. I didn't fully aim it, but I kind of thought that I would be able to hit something at 50 meters, but it went a little bit low into the left and hit the dirt instead of my intended target. So again, I'm having to be really careful about where I pull out and what my engagement point is, simply because I can't get the gun down if I'm in the wrong spot. And if you can't get the gun down, you can't shoot, and you don't want to put your tank in a position where it can get hit if you can't even return fire, or just being able to shoot at a part of the tank that is going to work so you can actually penetrate it. So I've got heat loaded now, and again I'm popping out and I can't get my gun down. I need to get into the flat area in front of me for this to work. And yeah, we just double tapped that Object 263 for like half of his health. The heat rounds in this have 340 pen, which is 10 more than the heat rounds on the T-54. And I find these are, I don't know if there's any other numbers that go into the crunch equation for whether you penetrate or not, but I find that this tank has an easier chance of penetrating with its heat rounds. I don't know, maybe it's because of the caliber or something, I don't know. Or maybe it's just my interpretation of what's going on, but I find I can penetrate better with this tank in just about every way, because the stock pen for even the normal rounds on AP is 248 or 250 or something. So you got substantially better pen than even the upgraded gun that I use on the T-54, which gives you worse aim time and in certain things, but wow, Chaffee just... I wasted a heat round on the Chaffee, but I didn't have time to change. I was assuming that he was going to try and get me when I came up around this corner, but I guess not. So I had a shot at Object 263, took a shot back, but we did about the same damage-ish to each other. He does 550, I do 450, so we're pretty similar. So I'm just going to try and get up here and get his side. And I was really hoping that shot would go in. But I'm going to shoot again on the move here, because I'm going to be able to get beside this guy. And nice. Took him down. And as you can see, climbing up the hill, I am a hair quicker than the E50. It looks like I'm catching up to him. And unfortunately for this 263 and the Chaffee, the Centurion 7-1 decided it was better use of his time to run away and leave his friends to die, so he gets shot in the back and in the front by us and the rest of my team. So we're aiming in here, and again he gets double tapped and hammered. So significantly different styles of play. You can actually play this tank kind of like a heavy tank and side scrape out, and sometimes you are able to bounce shots and have your track soak up stuff. You can play a little bit more like a heavy tank, just because it kind of has a heavy tank gun. Like, it does a lot of damage, it has a longer reload. You can kind of use it as a tank that you can just wait for everyone else to fire, then pop out and fire, because you don't have that frontal armor to soak up hits when you're in a city street fight. So another thing to keep into account is the T-54 is a little more versatile on maps like this. We see how much trouble I was having keeping the gun down. On other maps like Karelia, where you've got that hill that you need to fight over, getting on the top of the hill with this tank is absolutely a waste of time. I got up there and I couldn't get my gun down to shoot anything, and I just got murderized by artillery and all the tanks that come up there and could shoot down. So that's one of the two things you got to really look out for, is the gun depression on this tank, or the front is atrocious. It seems to be a little bit better from the side, but I could be wrong. But your alpha damage is vastly superior to the T-54. Your aim time is inferior. Your accuracy is comparable. It's not a whole ton worse. I think it's like 0.38 or 0.39 with this gun, somewhere around in that range. But firing on the move, the T-54 is definitely the better tank as far as that goes. And the terrain passability seems to a little bit better on the T-54 as well. But for the most part, the tanks they're similar in their mobility, but the characteristics of the guns are really what separate them, and how you play them and what you can do in what situations. So do I have a favorite? I kind of like being able to pop out and shoot guys and do 500 damage if you're playing a peekaboo battle. But if you're in a sustained circle fight, the T-54 is able to DPM people down faster, even though its pen is inferior. But when you're shooting the sides and backs of tanks, the pen advantage of the WZ120 is less of a factor. But they're both a lot of fun to drive. I don't have the E50 yet, but I think I will probably like it. As well, it won't have the engine fire problem that it currently has. That only gets rectified when you get up to the E50M, which doesn't have a frontal-mounted transmission. So at the end of the day, my favorite, I probably prefer the WZ120 actually. Even though its frontal armor isn't quite as good in the hull, I like the turret. I like the gun a lot. Its gun depression really sucks, but it's fun to be able to pop out and do that much damage to something that quickly with a medium tank. A lot of people don't even expect it to do that much damage, and I've actually had people type in chat, what the hell, like they didn't think that this tank could do over 500 damage, because when it rolls high it actually can roll like 520 or something stupid. So I do like this tank quite a bit. I'm still getting used to driving it, and if you can wolf pack with other medium tanks, it's a great step out and give them a punch in the mouth, extra oomph that you can add to something that's more of a precision tank like the T-54 or the E50. So I'm going to conclude that quick comparison of the WZ120 and the T-54. I think they're both ridiculously strong tanks. They're both really well put together and a lot of fun to drive, and I would recommend getting both of them for sure. And except on the WZ120, I would only recommend using this gun as opposed to the stock gun, which is more like a T-44's type gun. And I would also recommend on the T-54 to give the other gun a shot, the one that has the higher pen with crappier aim time and slightly crappier reload, just simply because it seems to be able to shoot on the move, and you don't need to seem to fully aim all your shots anyway. You get an extra 20 pen, you do the same amount of damage, and it seems to work just as well for me. I know in my review I said that the other one was superior, but now that in practice, when I've tried using the other gun a lot more, I actually find that both of them are good, but I like the extra pen on my stock AP rounds and not having to fire, not the APCR, but heat more. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you again soon.